Today, I'm gonna tell you about a brand that does chrome hearts, but does it better. Yes, this brand is more badass, more rock and roll, more in your face, more offensive, and also in almost every way, more interesting, better made, all of that stuff. I am now the internet's maybe most famous chrome hearts hater, but I don't just hate. I'm here to tell you there is a better way. In this brand, they are maybe like fashion's best kept secret, and that is by design. They do not want you to like them. And that is why I find them so eminently likable. So first, a quick recap. What do I not like about chrome hearts? Well, I think almost all of their ready-to-wear stuff, like the t-shirts, the hoodies, the hats, the sweatpants, yada yada yada, it's all very disposable, cheap-looking, boring, homogenous. Everything just looks the same. The graphics aren't interesting, and they're just creating this mythos around themselves that I think is not deserved. So who is this mystery brand that I hold in such high regard that I would say they are better than chrome hearts? Well, that brand is called Enfants, Déprimés, and they are perfect. They're the perfect luxury streetwear brand. Today, I'm gonna dive deep. I'm gonna explain exactly why they play Chrome Hearts' game, but play it better than Chrome Hearts does. And we're going to take a look at some examples by looking at some great Enfants Déprimés t-shirts, because I think that is the area where Chrome Hearts is actually lacking the most, and where Enfants Déprimés are just a clear win. So Chrome Hearts, I would describe them as like a rock and roll brand. And with that, they bring this kind of swagger and attitude. You look at their shirts, they're all like, F you, man.
Screw you, screw the man. Rock and roll, dude. Bikers, Hell's Angels.
In the end, like, that's a brand that got started designing costumes for movies. And even the rock and roll aesthetic is kind of not as cool as it once was. Maybe to your dad, they'd be like a super, super cool, edgy brand. And even so, rock and roll is not totally my thing. I came up in the punk rock scene, okay? I'm not about Deep Purple, I'm about the Ramones. I'm not about Motley Crue, I'm about Minor Threat. But in this video, I'm gonna take real Enfants Déprimés t-shirts, and we're gonna take a close look at those and see why I think they are so punk rock and so much more aggressive and interesting and innovative and not giving a fuck than Chrome Hearts. So what does Chrome Hearts do with their t-shirts? Well, there's a lot of crosses, a lot of store locations, which makes them very merchy. What else do we got here? Oh yeah, a lot of them say F you on them, because that's super badass. I explained in my, I think, very first video about them, like, take a stand, you guys. Say something. Say free Hong Kong. Say Taiwan exists, and not all of it's like against China. You could also do anti-American, anti-Russian things. Like, take some chances. Say some shit. You know what I mean? Whereas Enfants Déprimés, they will go absolutely off the walls, both with interesting graphics, wild, confusing graphics, and also offensive graphics. Like, F you is not offensive. Again, offensive to your dad, maybe, if your dad works at an insurance company. But Enfants Déprimés. All right, let's just dive into our magical bag of t-shirts here. So I have been slowly and quietly amassing an Enfants Déprimés collection because they are my new grail. Everything is super limited run, very unique, everything's different, but also with the same point of view. And that point of view is someone who grew up as like a prep school brat, but then found punk rock and got into drugs and fell in love with that subculture. The guy's name is Henry Levi, or sometimes goes with the French like Henri Alexandre or something like that. A little bit pretentious, but you know, I'll give him a pass. And I also grew up in prep schools. I also discovered punk rock. I also got way too heavily into drugs. So there's a kindred spirit aspect to it. The first t-shirt we're gonna look at is a big graphic print right here. And you can see why this is the first one I'm picking, because it just shows you how much more interesting this is than anything Chrome Hearts does, and also how much more offensive it is. I think in-your-face nudity is much, much, much more offensive to most people than just an F-bomb. You'll see F-bombs in like a Marvel movie these days. I don't know if that's true, but I believe it. Titties? Some big out there titties? That's gonna have a lot of people blushing, you know what I mean? You can also see on the back we got more titties, but we've also got some distressing going on here. Some very purposeful distressing. That's that kind of punk rock influence coming in. And also they're like very pre-washed. I'm guessing they've been tumbled the hell out of. Super soft. Extremely, extremely comfortable as well. And I'm gonna, as we go, I'm gonna keep posting Chrome Hearts shirts next to these so you can see the absolute disparity and how Enfants Riches Déprimés just crushes Chrome Hearts in every aspect of the game. Next up, we've got one that's, I guess, a little bit simpler in the graphic, but just as interesting in its own way, both in the graphic and construction. So this is the Nosebleed t-shirt. It really gives you the impression of a prep school kid doing way too much blow in the bathroom between classes. You do get branding in there if you're looking to flex on people. And you can also see that this is a ringer right here. We've got a black band around the collar and also black sleeves. Again, just infinitely more interesting than anything I'm seeing from Chrome Hearts at this point. Next up here, we've got a bit of a cartoonish print. And this one is very kind of like pop art. If you can see at the bottom there, it says well-adjusted families. Very creepy, very kind of like blowing up the idea of the nuclear family. And I don't know, I just find this one interesting. Some could say it's like a boring graphic, but it makes up for it in the fit. Very, very boxy, but also very cropped. Again, very, very tumbled, extremely thin and almost brittle feeling. There are choices being made here, design choices that I really appreciate. All right, the next one is a really, really wild one, and you've seen probably most of their t-shirts come in white, but this one is like an earthy green right here, and you've got a picture of a young girl, and it says, Moi, Christiane F, 13A, Druge prostitute. I don't know what all of those things mean. I should probably look it up. But, me, Christiane, 13 years old, prostitute. They put that on a graphic t-shirt. And that's why I say, like, they don't give a fuck. Because they mess with, like, kids. They put kids on their graphics a lot. And it gives you this weird, uncomfortable feeling. But it also feels very, very in-your-face, aggressive, and kind of creepy. And that's why I like it. It puts you off edge in a way that only the best fashion can. So I vibe with this one really hard, even though it's kind of hard to stomach at the same time. Now, if you're looking for logo tees, you just want that Chrome Hearts logo in big, bold print, ERD does have you covered there as well, because you could get something like this. And while this isn't the most excellent of their graphics, there's still stuff happening here that I think puts it over the edge. You've got this kind of like ska print, which goes back to the kind of punk rock history of the brand, a little bit of like a Friends logo vibe going on too, and you've got a lot in this one of intentional distressing. You can tell that even though it's a simple logo shirt, they have put a lot of care and thought into these pieces, even the simplest versions like this. And it's not all just standard cotton, regular old t-shirts. They also get interesting with the cuts sometimes as well. Like this one is a really interesting kind of like knit jersey fabrication, and it's also in a mock neck as well. This rib mock neck, kind of like women's wear type of sleeves going on here. So I find that really, really unique. This one, more of a simple logo t-shirt, Art Performance Technologia, Enfants, a brand for released information. It's very kind of corporate in a way that they're poking fun of. And again, very simple in the graphic, but they make up for it in the cut. Again, always something going on with these pieces. The last one we're going to look at today is a big graphic shirt that also has a really interesting fabrication as well. This one is in a really nice thick ribbed stretch fabric, very unique for a t-shirt. And you've got just this really kind of like 70s, maybe 80s punk rock album cover look to the graphic. You've got like a woman taking off her top up here. You've got some weird stuff like maxed headroom stuff going on up in the corners. And then you've got these, again, children blacked out in front of the TV at the bottom. Clearly, there is some sort of message to this piece. Do I claim to understand exactly what it is? No, but you get a vibe of it. Every single one of these shirts gives you a vibe. And that's what I'm looking for. Chrome Hearts doesn't give you that vibe. But let me say, this brand also stands on their own, not just in comparison to Chrome Hearts. For instance, they make lots of other stuff other than t-shirts. And have I not mentioned yet that this is going to be a series? Yeah, this is going to be an entire series on Enfants riches Déprimés. This episode, we were just looking at the t-shirts. We're also going to look at pants, long sleeves, collared shirts, sweaters, all that good stuff. So make sure you stick around to check that out. But again, hey, we're not done yet here, because I just showed you all these t-shirts. I just held them up. You looked at them as they were. But I think finally, we've got to put together a little try-on montage. So, let's do that. Oh, and would you look at that, that's the end of the video. Make sure you get subscribed for any other ERD stuff and all the other brands we cover, all the other stuff we cover. Catch you next time.